Okay, we'll continue the architecture. Just I'm taking the three important components of the SCA, which is database buffer cache, shade pool, and log buffer. Now we'll take a scenario where user is trying to update some rows in the EMP table. And this update statement, for example, will generate 20 MB of redo content. That means first it will go to the log buffer, and for every 3 seconds or when, okay, the log writer will write the content from log buffer to redo log files, correct? So this log writer will write the content from redo log buffer to the redo log files for every 3 seconds or whenever log buffer is 2/3 full. So either log buffer is 2/3 full, or for every 3 seconds log writer will write the content from log buffer to the redo log files. Now say for example the redo log file size is 10 MB and 10 MB. These are the physical files which are stored in the disk, and in the future classes you'll know how to create those redo log files, and regarding the redo log file concept you'll know it in the future classes. For now just think the redo log file size is 10 MB. This update statement, as it is generating 20 MB of redo content, so the redo log file will be filled, log file 1 will be filled, and also log file 2. Now second user comes in, and even he is updating another table, say for example department, and it is generating another 10 MB of redo content. Now log writer doesn't have any free space left in the redo log files. Both of the 10 MB files are filled. So in order to write the redo content which is generated by this user, log writer will overwrite the existing content which is present in the redo log file. It will overwrite the content which is present in the redo log file. Okay. Now if something happens and user drops a table, at this moment of time if something happens and user drops a table, say for example after this 20 MB of transaction user dropped a table, he should drop table command accidentally. Now user comes in and approaches DBA and he asks, I want to, I need the table, by accidentally I dropped the table, so please restore it. Now in this case the redo content of the first log file will be overwritten with this 10 MB of information. As a result you cannot restore the table because the drop table content, whatever the redo content generated by this drop table statement, was overwritten with the new redo content. Okay, in order to avoid these kind of problems, Oracle introduced a concept called as arclog files. Even the arclog files are physical files. It will be stored on the disk, and whenever log writer tries to overwrite the content which is present in the redo log file, it will wait until archiver background process. There is a process called as ARCH, archiver background process. this will write the content from the redo log files to the arclog files. So it will archive the content which is present in the redo log files, such that even though log writer overrides the content which is present in the redo log file, still we can restore the table because it is present in the arclog files. So using the arclog files, we can restore the table. So this is the concept of archival. So before log writer overrides the content which is present in the redo log file, it will wait until the archiver background process writes the content from redo log file to the another set of physical files which are called as arclog files. And the content from the redo log files to the arclog files will be written by archiver background process. ARCH is a background process which is involved in writing the redo content from redo log files to arclog files. ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇక్కడ?
How long this archaeologs will store, like after some 10 days or something, if you want to get that data, we can get that archaeolog.
It depends upon how much space you have. You will configure. As a DBA, you will configure how many days of arclog files you want to store it on the disk. So if you have sufficient space, you can store 1 year arclog files or 2 years arclog files also.
Okay.
But it depends upon the space, how much space is present on the server.
Okay. These files will also same server, like we can configure these arclog files in different server or something like that.
No. Usually arclog files will configure it on the same server, because if you configure it onto a different server, then it will be a problem. It needs to use the network and it needs to write the content to the different server. In that case, log writer needs to wait. As I said, log writer needs to wait until the archiver complete writing the redo log content. So ఈ కేసులో ఇప్పుడు నెట్వర్క్ ద్వారా ఈ రీడు కంటెంట్ పంపివ్వాలి అంటే ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు వెయిట్ ఫర్ మోర్ లాంగర్ టైమ్. సో విచ్ విల్ డిగ్రేడ్ ద పర్ఫార్మెన్స్. But why we require another set of arclog files? Why can't we have redo log files itself? Now the size of the redo log file is 10 MB. If I design in such a way that my redo log file is 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes, why can't I do that? The reason is redo log file should be smaller, because if you see the redo log file, mostly write operations will be performed against the redo log file. Only write operations, not read operations. Okay, and if it needs to perform a write operation on a bigger file which is of 1 terabyte, it will take lot of time. So that is the reason why the redo log files should be smaller, and as it is smaller, we will require another set of files which are called as arclog files, such that we will have the content before log writer overrides the before content. Okay, that is the reason why we have the another set of physical files which are called as arclog files.
Okay.
And data files are the another set of physical files which actually which contains the actual data. So whatever the data which you are inserting into the table, these files will hold that information. Data files are the files which contains the actual data. Now we take two data files, df1 and df2. Users are performing their operations, and if we take the same scenario, user 1 is updating 20 MB of information. As 20 MB of redo content was generated as a result of this update statement. Now whenever the first set of file, whenever the first 10 MB is filled, whenever the first redo log file is filled, then log writer will switch to another redo log file. So when first file is filled up, it will perform a switch and log writer will point to the second redo log file. Switching of log writer from one redo log file to another redo log file is called as log switch. And whenever log switch happens, it will trigger another background process called as CKPT. And this CKPT will in turn triggers another process called as DBWR. And you already know DBWR will write the dirty buffers from database buffer cache to data files. So one of the scenario where DBWR writes the dirty buffers from buffer cache to data files is whenever server process unable to find any free block in the database buffer cache. The second case is whenever log switch happens, it in turn triggers CKPT and CKPT in turn triggers DBWR. Even whenever the log switch happens, it internally triggers DBWR, which will write the dirty buffers from database buffer cache to data files. So there are two cases where DBWR writes the content, writes the dirty buffers from buffer cache to data files. Till now you know the two cases. There are some other cases where DBWR writes the content from buffer cache to data files, but for now these are the two cases. One is when server process is unable to find free buffer in the buffer cache. The second one is whenever the log switch happens. And now we will see what is CKPT. In Oracle, there is a number called as system change number. In a shortcut, we'll call it as SCN. SCN stands for system change number. And whenever log switch triggers a background process called as CKPT, it will update data files with this system change number. So whenever log switch triggers CKPT, it will update the data files with system change number. We will see in the future classes why CKPT will update the data files with the system change number. Just for now, remember CKPT will update the data files with system change number. That's it. Okay. Now, yesterday we saw using parameter file, Oracle will start the instance. That means SJ will be created, SJ will be allocated in memory, and background process will be started. After that, how Oracle will know where the data files are present? And where the redo log files are present, and where the arclog files are present. So we already saw, apart from parameter file, we saw three physical components of the Oracle. One is data file, second is redo log file, and third is arclog files. So after starting the instance, how Oracle will know where the redo log files are present, where the data files are present, and where the arclog files are present. So in order to get the location of data files and redo log files, Oracle uses another physical file which is called as control file. This control file will have the location of data files as well as redo log files. So using that location, it will open the data files and redo log files for input output operations. So control file is a file which will store the location of data files as well as redo log files. And now, how Oracle will get the location of control file? So in parameter file, you have a parameter called as control underscore files. This parameter will give you the location of control file. And then it will open that control file. It will get the location of data files and redo log files, and then it will open for input output operations. So once the instance is started, Oracle will look into the parameter file to get the location of control file, and then it will open the control file. So we already know once the instance is started, database will be in no mount mode. So yesterday I said whenever we issue the startup command, it will go through three phases. One of the phase is no mount, the second phase is mount. So once the instance is started, whenever Oracle looks into the control file and opens the control file to get the location of data files and redo log files, this phase is called as mount. So whenever Oracle accesses the control file, the database will be in mount mode. Then it will read the locations of data files and redo log files in control file, and then it will open the data files and redo log files for input output operations. Once it opens the data files for input output operations, the database will be in open mode. So whenever the database is in these two modes, whenever the database is in no mount or mount mode, users will not be able to access the database. Whenever the database is in open mode, then only users can access the database. Because apart from DBA, the users, what they can do, they need to insert data into the table. Either they will create some new objects or they will insert new data into the database, or else they will manipulate the existing data. They will modify the existing data. That means ultimately the users will do input output operations against the database, either read or write. So read or write operations can be performed whenever the database is in open mode. Until whenever the database is in mount mode, users will not be able to perform input output operations because data files and control files, data files and redo log files are not opened yet. Okay, so once the database is in open mode, then only users can access the database. And whenever you issue the startup command, it will go through all the three phases which are described above: no mount, mount and open. Now no mount mode is also called as started. If you want to check the status of the database, we will use a view called as $instance. This is the view which will show you the status of the database. Or status of the instance. So this command, select status from $instance. This command will show you in what mode the database is in, whether the database is in started mode or mount mode or open mode. Okay, so let us go ahead and start the database and we'll see. Now, if you want to start the database in no mount mode, you can issue startup no mount. If you want the database to start in mount mode, you can use startup mount command. If you want the database to open, you can just issue startup. This will put the database in no mount, then mount. After that, it will open the database. Now, if you issue startup no mount, instance will be started. After that, if you want to place the database in mount mode, we'll issue the command alter database mount. So this command will change the database mode from no mount to mount mode. After that, if you want to open the database, we'll issue the command alter database open. This will open the database. And remember, whenever the database is in no mount mode, you cannot directly issue alter database open. You need to first issue alter database mount and then you need to issue alter database open. And when the database is in mount mode and if you want to put the database open, we need to issue this command alter database open. And once the database is in open mode, you cannot go back to mount or no mount. If the database is in open mode and if you want to go or if you want to put the database in mount mode, you cannot do it. The only way to achieve that is you need to shut down the database. To shut down the database, we'll use this command shut immediate. In the future classes, we will know what are the various ways to shut it down. But for now, we'll issue shut immediate command in order to shut down the database. So first we'll shut down the database and then we'll issue startup mount. So this is the way in which you can put the database back into mount whenever the database is in open mode. Is it clear? So you already know parameter file. It's a file which contains parameters and it will be of key and value pairs. Then control file. Control file will have the location of data files and redo log files. After that, data files. Those are the files which contains the actual data. And redo log files are used to store redo content. After that, whenever you issue the startup command, it will go into three phases: no mount, mount and open. And these are the various commands you can use in order to change the database mode. So let me put the database in no mount. Okay. To put the database in mount mode, alter database mount. And before doing that, let us check the status. Select status from $instance. So when this command shows your output as started, that means just instance is started. That means background process and SGA is allocated. Alter database mount. In mount mode, control file will be accessed and location of data files and redo log files. Select status from $instance. So now the database is in mount mode. And In order to get the location of data files, so we already know control file will have the location of data files and redo log files, correct? So in order to get the location of data files and redo log files, in Oracle we have two dynamic views. So what are the $V views which I'm telling? Those views are called as dynamic views. Even the database is not in open mode, we can access some of the dynamic views. Now there is a view called as $V data file. This view will get the location of data files from control file. So in order to get the file locations, select name from $V data file. This will give you the location of the data files. So if you see here, my data files are present in /database/test followed by test folder. After that, this is the file name: system, sysocs, undo, users, and example. Okay. So in order to get the location of data files from control file, we will use this view, $V data file view. In a similar way, if you want to get the location of log files, from $V log file, this will give you the location of read log files. And remember, this query you can run whenever the database is in mount mode. If the database is in no mount mode, that means if the instance is started, you cannot access these views because these views will get the information from control file. So in order to get the information from control file, the database needs to be in mount mode. So let us shut down the database and start up in no mode, and let us issue this command again. We'll see what happens. Okay, now I'm issuing startup no mount. If I do select name from $V data file, see, it says database is not open, queries allowed on fixed tables and views only. So in order to get the location of data files and redo log file, the database must be in mount mode. In mount mode only, the control file will be accessed to get the location of data files and redo log files. Now, in order to open the database, alter database, open. Do you have any questions?
No, Mohan.
No, man.
Okay. And also, if you want to know, for example, if you want to know what is the value assigned to a parameter, database buffer cache or log buffer, we use this command, correct? Show parameter log underscore buffer. This will show us the value assigned with this parameter, correct? So this is the command which can be used in order to check one parameter. Now, if you want to see all the parameters and associated values, so you can just issue the command show parameter. You don't need to specify the parameter name. By using show parameter, it will list all the parameters and its associated values. So if you see transaction underscore enabled, it says true. So this command will give you all the parameters and its values. And also there is another view, another dynamic view called as v dollar parameter. This view will show you all the parameters and its associated value. Either you can use show parameter, or else you can do select name from name comma value from v dollar parameter. Even this will list all the parameters and its associated values. So if you see in parameter file, we have 342 parameters altogether. Let me you already know what a call command does. Okay, set lines 300. Okay, set pages 400. Okay. So all these are the parameters and its associated value. So using v dollar parameter or using show parameter, you can check all the parameters and its associated value. Now parameters which are present in parameter file are either static or dynamic. Static means changes will be affected after the bounce. Dynamic means changes will be affected for current running instance as well as SP file. This will make the change, that means this will make the change only in SP file. Here if it's a dynamic, this will make the change in memory as well as SP file. Okay, so a parameter can either be static or a dynamic. Now if you want to know whether a parameter is static or dynamic, in v dollar parameter there is a column called as is modifiable. This column will show you whether a parameter is static or a dynamic. So first let us describe v dollar parameter. So is underscore modifiable is a column which will show you whether the parameter is static or a dynamic parameter. So select name comma so if you see here, there is immediate and false. So whenever a parameter is, whenever the is underscore modifiable is immediate for a parameter, that means it is a dynamic parameter. You can change the value of a parameter dynamically. If is underscore modifiable is set to false, one second. Okay. So whenever ECS underscore modifiable is set to false, that means it's a static parameter. So by looking at ECS underscore modifiable column, you will know whether a parameter is dynamic or a static parameter. If ECS underscore modifiable is immediate, then it's a dynamic parameter. If ECS underscore modifiable is false, then it is a static parameter. Now, we will take a parameter which is called as SG underscore max underscore size. Okay. Now, if you see here, ECS underscore modifiable is set to false. That means it is a static parameter. Let us go ahead and change the value of SG underscore max underscore size, and we'll see what will happen. So if you see here, SG underscore max size is set to 592 MB. Now let me change this value. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll take the example of memory underscore max underscore target. For now, I'll take memory underscore max underscore target. Before doing that, we will check whether memory max target is static or a dynamic parameter. So select name comma ECS underscore modifiable from v dollar parameter where name equal to memory underscore max underscore target. So if you see here, even memory max target is set to false. That means it's a static parameter. Now I want to modify this value. First, let me check the original value. Show parameter memory. Okay, memory max target is set to 592 MB. Let me change that to 1 GB, or okay, I'll do one thing. I'll make it as 750 MB. So in order to change the parameter, we'll use alter system set memory underscore max underscore target equal to 750 M. This will change memory max target value from 592 MB to 750 M. But if you see here, it errored out saying specified initialization parameter cannot be modified. As I already told you, it's a static parameter. We cannot change it dynamically. We can only change it at the SP file level. We cannot change it for the current running instance. So in order to change the value only at the SP file level, we have to issue this command along with SP file equal to, sorry, scope equal to SP file. This will change the value of memory max target in the SP file. So once this is done, show parameter memory. So if you see here, still memory max target is set to 592 MB. The reason is current running instance has memory underscore max underscore target to be 592 MB. Now if I shed the database and bring it up again, then you will see the change being affected. Okay, now let me show the startup again. Okay, I'll do one thing. Give me a second. Let me change the value. I want to see the parameters which are associated with memory. So strings sp file test.ora. I want to see the content which is present in the sp file test.ora. I want to see memory max target value as well as memory target value. So if you see here, memory max target is set to 784 MB and memory underscore target is set to 620 MB. Correct? So these are the two values associated with this sp file. Now there is some problem with the change which we made. That you know in the feature class, there is another concept called as automatic memory management.
This is for Boston. My boyfriend's down.
Nice to meet you.
There's no community anymore.
Yeah, I coach hockey sugar.
Good. That's good.
Good. I tried actually. Yeah.
That's I got some.
Okay. So let me revert back the change for now. Okay. I haven't changed. I revert back the change. Okay. Memory max target and memory underscore target. I'll do one thing. I will change any other parameter which is static, and I'll show you the difference. Did I told you about like and percentile? So if you don't know the exact string which you want to search in the table, if you know just part of the string, then you can search it with using like operator, and then you can specify percentile. Percentile means just, it needs to, the string needs to contain AUTH. Rest of the part, it doesn't matter. So it will only search for AUTH in the whole string. Okay, so if you see here, this OS authentication prefix is also false. That means it's a static parameter. Okay, first let us see the value assigned with this static parameter. So OS underscore authent underscore prefix parameter is set to OPS dollar, and you will know what this parameter in the feature classes. Just I want to show you how to change the value of a static parameter. Now I want to set this to null. Alter system set OS underscore authent underscore prefix equal to null. So it's a static parameter, it will error out. So you need to add scope equal to sp file clause. Scope equal to sp file. So using this command, you can change the value of static parameter such that it will change only in the SP file level. Now the change was made. Show parameter attend. So still OS underscore attend underscore prefix is set to OPS dollar. After the bounce, the change will affect. So let me shut down. And issue start up again. Show parameter A to H. So now OS underscore attend underscore prefix is set to null. Okay, if it's a static parameter and if you change it using scope is equal to SP file, the change will be reflected after the bounce. Now if you take any dynamic parameter, one of that parameter is log underscore archive underscore dest underscore 1. This parameter is a dynamic parameter, and now if I want to set this parameter, I can just do that using alt system set log archive dest underscore 1 equal to slash database slash backup. One second. Okay, now if I do show parameter log underscore archive underscore dest underscore 1. So if you see here, dest 1 is set to location equal to slash backup. So if a parameter is a dynamic parameter, you don't need to assign scope is equal to SP file clause. You can directly change it using alt system set and then parameter equal to new value, and the change will be affected immediately. So once I issue this command, after that the value got changed to location equal to slash backup. Correct? So this is the difference between a static and a dynamic parameter. And in each underscore modifiable column, there is another value. If I want to see, question for you guys. Now there is a column, you already know is underscore modifiable in $v parameter. I want to know what are the distinct values that column has. So what query should I use in order to get the distinct values what is underscore modifiable column has?
Select a distinct column name. Yeah.
Yep, correct. This will show me the distinct values associated with this column.
Yeah.
So if you see here, there are three values. One is immediate, second is false, and third is deferred. So you already know immediate means it's a dynamic parameter. False means it's a static parameter. Then there is another type called as deferred. So if a parameter is of type deferred, then if you change the value of that parameter, it will not affect for the current session. That means it will not affect for this session. It will be affected once you exit from the SQL place and you connect back to the SQL place. Okay, just for the session it will not be affected. Deferred means if you open another terminal and if you connect to the database, the change will be affected. Is it clear?
Yes.
Then when are you using this command alter system set parameter name equal to new value and scope? I guess I already told you yesterday. So scope will take three values. One is memory, second is SP file, and third is both. Both is a default. And if you want to change the value only for the current running instance, then we will use the option scope equal to memory. If you want to change it for the current running instance as well as for the SP file, we will use scope equal to both. If you don't give scope equal to both, by default it will take that value. And if you want to change the value only at the SP file level, then we'll use scope is equal to SP file. So that means even for a dynamic parameter, if you don't want the change to be affected for the current running instance, if you want to change it only at the SP file level, then you can do alter system set dynamic parameter equal to new value scope equal to SP file. If you give scope equal to SP file, it will only change at the SP file level. Okay, these are the ways you can modify a parameter. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, and this command, what I said, it will be applicable for SP file only. This will not be applicable for P file, because scope equal to SP file or scope equal to both, these two are applicable for the SP file only. So if you are using P file, and if you want to change the value of a parameter, you need to open the P file using vieditor init test.aura, and then you need to edit the values. You cannot use alter system set command to change the values in P file. So if you are using an init file and if you want to edit the values, you need to open it with vieditor and you need to change the values. But using alter system set, you can change the values for current running instance. సో ఆల్టర్ సిస్టమ్ సెట్ యూజ్ చేసి ఒకవేళ డేటాబేస్ కనుక పీ ఫైల్తో స్టార్ట్ అయి ఉంటే, అండ్ ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు మాడిఫై పారామీటర్ యూజింగ్ ఆల్టర్ సిస్టమ్ సెట్, యూ కెన్ చేంజ్ ఓన్లీ ఎట్ ద మెమరీ లెవెల్. యూ కెన్ నాట్ చేంజ్ ఇట్ ఎట్ ద పీ ఫైల్ లెవెల్ because there is no option for scope equal to p file. So if you want to change it in the p file, the only way is you need to edit the file. This is another difference between an SP file and a P file. So in order to change a value in SP file, we'll use alter system set. In order to change a value in the P file, we need to open it with vieditor and we need to change the value. Okay, till now we saw these differences, correct? And apart from that, P file is a text file and SP file is a binary file, and that is the reason why you cannot open SP file with vieditor to edit the content. So the only way is you need to use alter system set. Now the other difference, important difference is, if you see here, to change the value in P file, you need to open that with VEditor and you need to change the value, correct? For example, if you want to change the location, here I changed log archive dest1 to location equal to slash backup, correct? Now if I want to change log underscore archive underscore dest1 to slash backup 1, and if I'm using P file, or for example I want to change it to backup, ఇప్పుడు మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే df minus h నేను కొడితే I will do one thing, yeah, ఇక్కడ log archive dest1 పారామీటర్ చేంజ్ చేయడానికి నేను యూజ్ చేసిన కమాండ్ ఏంటి, alter system set log underscore archive underscore dest1 equal to location equal to slash backup. This is a command which I used in order to change log archive dest1, correct? As I'm doing this with a SQL plus command, if I do any typos, if you see here, I did a typo, I missed location equal to here. So as a result, it errored out, because SQL plus knows log archive dest1 should be in the format of location equal to and then the actual location. So it errored out saying it is not allowed. So the change which I made is not appropriate. So that's the reason why it didn't allow me to make the change. Now instead of this, if I'm using a P file and if I want to change it, if I do the same thing here, if I open the P file and if I edit log archive dest1 equal to single quote slash backup, it will allow me, because VEditor doesn't know how log archive dest1 should be. So it will allow the change, we will save the file and we'll exit from the file. After that, whenever we are trying to start up the database, then you will see the error saying that it's an invalid. So this is one of the disadvantage of P file. As you'll modify the value using a VEditor, you doesn't know you made the change in an appropriate way or not. Is it clear? What is the drawback of P file?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there is another drawback of P file. As I said, P file can be in any location. So now take an example where you are working in a team of 8 members and 4 of them are in offshore and 4 of them are in onshore. Now there is a maintenance activity from the manager saying that a parameter needs to be changed, and you are using a P file, you are using a parameter file for the database. Now the change, manager requested the offshore team who are present in India, who are working from India, to change a parameter. Okay, now they will change the parameter value to the value which manager said, and they will save the file in a different location. For example, initially the file was in Oracle home/dbs. Now after the change, the Indian guys they moved it to a different location, say for example /home/Oracle. Now they are trying to now they will start the database using P file which is located in /home/Oracle. After that, after 1 week, and Indian guys didn't notice, or like they haven't said anything saying that they started the database from /home/Oracle P file. Now after 1 week, manager requested US team to modify the change in the P file. Now US team will modify the parameter value of the file which is present in Oracle home/dbs, because they doesn't know the database has been started from /home/Oracle. So even this is one of the biggest disadvantages of P file, as there is no mandatory location, as we can start the database from any of the location or any of the P file present in any of the location. As a result, it will be very difficult to keep track of P file. ఎక్కడ నుంచి డేటాబేస్ ఏ P file యూస్ చేసి స్టార్ట్ చేసిందో అది ట్రాక్ చేయడం కష్టమైపోతుంది అన్నమాట. సో అదొక బిగ్గర్ డిసడ్వాంటేజ్ ఆఫ్ P file. SP file తీసుకుంటే it should be in Oracle Home/DBS, so you'll not have any mismatches.
Okay.
And in order to start the P file from a different location, we'll use startup space P file equal to /home/Oracle init test.ora. Using this command, we can start the database using a P file which is present in a different location other than Oracle Home/DBS. Next, as I said, if you want to change the value of a parameter in SP file, we'll use alt system set command. For this, database needs to be at least in no mount mode. So database no mount mode లో ఉంటే చాలు ఈ alt system set command ఇష్యూ చేయడానికి. But when the database is down and you want to make the change without starting the instance, you cannot modify it using alt system set command. The only way you can make the change is, first you need to create a P file from SP file. In order to create a P file from SP file, we'll use the command create P file equal to or P file from SP file. So this will create a P file from SP file. So binary file ఏదైతే ఉందో దానిలో నుంచి P file create చేస్తుంది అనమాట. And P file name will be given as init test.ora. If the file is already existing, it will overwrite the file. If you want to create the P file from SP file in a different location, we'll specify create P file is equal to /home/Oracle/init test.ora. So this command will create a P file from the SP file in /home/Oracle location, and the file name will be given as init test.ora. After that, you need to open P file, make the change. Once the change is made, connect to SQL Plus again. Even to issue create P file command, you need to connect to SQL Plus. And the database is already shut down, correct? So whenever you connect to SQL Plus, it will say connected to an idle instance. Even it is connected to an idle instance, you can issue this command. So to issue this command, there is no need database must be up and running. You can issue this command even the database is shut down. So once the P file is created, you will open the P file and you will make the change. After that, you will connect to SQL Plus again and you will issue the command create SP file from P file equal to /home/Oracle init test.ora. So we made the change of the P file which is present in home Oracle. So that is the reason why I'm creating SP file from the P file which is located in home Oracle. So this will create an SP file in Oracle Home/DBS location. And you don't have an option to create an SP file in a different location. The only way is create SP file from P file is equal to P file location. So this will create the SP file. After that, you'll issue the startup command. So whenever the database is down and if you want to make the change in an SP file, these are the steps you need to follow. First, you need to create a P file. You need to make a change in the P file. After that, you'll create SP file from P file again. Is it clear?
Yeah.
ఏం డౌట్స్ లేవా?
ఏం లేవండి ప్రస్తుతం.
ఓకే. సో దీంతో చెప్పండి.
క్రియేట్ P ఫైల్ ఫ్రమ్ SP ఫైల్ అంటే డిఫాల్ట్ గా Oracle హోమ్ లో క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది పాత్ ఇవ్వకపోతే.
Oracle Home/DBS లో క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. And also
క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది కదా అది.
ఏంటండి?
క్రియేట్ పీ ఫైల్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎస్పీ ఫైల్ అంటే అది లొకేషన్ వచ్చేసి ఎస్పీ ఫైల్ అనే లొకేషన్ లో క్రియేట్ అవుతుందా?
ఎస్, ఆర్కిల్ హోమ్ స్లాష్ DBS లొకేషన్ లో క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. యా. And also, if you want to give a different name instead of init-test.aura, if you want to give a different name, you can also give a different name, init-test1.aura from p file, sp file. ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయండి?
ఇంకేం లేదండి.
అంటే వేరే పేరు ఇవ్వచ్చు అన్నట్టు.
యా, వేరే పేరు ఏదైనా ఇవ్వచ్చు.
ఇవ్వకపోతే మాత్రం ఓవర్ రైట్ అవుతుంది అంతే కదా?
యా, ఓవర్ రైట్ అవుతుంది. ఎస్, ఓవర్ రైట్ అవుతుంది. సో దీంతో యాక్చువల్ గా మెమరీ పార్ట్ అయిపోయిందండి, SGA పార్ట్ అయిపోయింది, అండ్ ఫిజికల్ ఫైల్స్ లో పారామీటర్ ఫైల్ అయిపోయింది. నెక్స్ట్ విల్ సి read-log files, data files and control files tomorrow. I mean like on Saturday.
ఓకే.
On Saturday 11 o'clock తీసుకుంటాను క్లాస్.
11 o'clock అండి.
షూర్.
మార్నింగ్ పాసిబుల్ అవుతుందండి 8 కదా లేదంటే?
అతనికి ప్రాబ్లం అవుతుందండి, శ్రీవాత్సవ్కి.
ఓకే, దట్స్ ఫైన్.
యా, ఓకే అండి.
ఓకే.
యా, బై.
ఓకే.